Okay, I'd like to call to order the August 28th, 2012 Mill Creek Township Supervisors meeting, and we'll begin with a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications? Hearing none, we'll move on. Approval of minutes. We have before us the August 21st, 2012 meeting minutes. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
And I'll second. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Approval of bills. We have before us the general checking fund bills of the township for 8/21/2012, and also the Mill Creek Township Sewer Revenue Fund bills from August 21st, 2012. Is there any additions or corrections to the bills?
I'll move we pay the bills.
I'll second. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Public hearing on subdivision plans and land development plans. First, we have the Keith T. McGarvey Trust, a subdivision plan to create a 0.99 acre parcel, Lot B, located between the north line of West 12th Street and the south line of West Lake Road, 400 feet east of Asbury Road in Tract 280. Mr. Morris?
Planning Commission recommended approval at their August 14th meeting with two variances, one for 3-to-1 depth to width ratio and the second for double lot frontage.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of it?
Yes, Mike Sanford with Sanford Surveying and Engineering, 4721 Atlantic Avenue, here on behalf of the applicant and requesting your approval.
And you understand the recommendations?
Yes, I understand the recommendations and the two variances that are required.
Okay. Is there any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak against the subdivision plan? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval with the variances for 3-to-1 depth to width and the double lot frontage.
And I'll second. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Sanford. Second is Laurel Springs Phase 5B, Land Development Plan. A land development plan to show the construction of two 35-unit efficiency apartment buildings with associated parking area along the west line of Springview Drive, a private drive, located along the west side of West Street, south of West Grandview Boulevard, in South Gore Tract and tract number 348. Mr. Morris?
Planning Commission recommended approval with all preliminary plan modifications, variances, requirements, etc. that were approved. Also, due to neighbors' concerns with vehicle headlights, I'd recommend a condition that would require a 4-foot high earth mound and plantings in accordance with zoning ordinance section 3.10.4 along the south line of the proposed parking lot. It already shows a landscaped earthen mound. This would provide a little more detail as to what that was to contain.
Thank you. Anyone here to speak in favor of the land development?
Yes, Mike Sanford again, Sanford Surveying and Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Morris, is that the, you said south line? Would that be west line?
Oh, I'm sorry, west. You're
Okay.
right. West line.
Okay. That mound's already in place. I walked the property not long ago. There is a mound in place. I don't know if it's 4 feet high. Rick, do you know if it isn't 4 feet high, or was there a complaint?
I haven't been to the site, but I've heard that most of it is 4 feet high, but there is some that is not.
Okay, then I'll speak on behalf of the applicant. We'll make it 4 feet high if portions of it aren't. I think it's pretty close.
And then meeting the recommendations of the, or the, what is it, the zoning ordinance? Okay.
Yes.
That must be
The
tree
plantings.
Tree
as far as the
plantings.
plantings.
Where there's supposed to be a 6-foot high wall of green plantings within 2 years that are touching.
Typically, it's evergreen trees that are planted
Right.
8 feet apart?
I didn't discuss that with my client. Let me just think for a moment, because, I mean, generally he plants plantings anyways. I don't think that would be a problem. I'm pretty sure my applicant would be agreeable to that.
Okay.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak against the land development plan? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Robert Soddy. I live at 2001 Charleston Avenue, and we border up against the Laurel Springs property line where the mound is constructed. And I'm happy to hear that they will raise it because it's behind our house that the land drops off. And it could be they just haven't finished it yet. But the concern is that we have a parking lot exactly behind that mound, unlike lots of the other buildings in the area. So basically, we're saying that we're afraid we're going to see these lights coming in, and I support the Mr. Morris's comments on having some trees in that area that would block the lights from the parking lot so they don't shine into our house. That's our concern. So other than that, they've been a great neighbor, and they do wonderful construction over there. So we've been really, really pleased with them. But just a concern on our part to make sure that the mound is finished and the trees are put in place, and we have protection from the lights. That's all.
Thank you. Hearing no more questions, is anybody else here to speak against the subdivision or the land development?
Hi, my name is Jennifer Kobe. I'm a resident at 2002 Charleston, directly bordering behind the property as well. Yes, at least on my portion of the property, but not Mr. Soddy's. There is close to, I'm sure, what is a 4-foot mound. And I'm just specifically concerned with the plantings and will there be enough growth aggressively in the next 2 to 3 years to provide, you know, a barrier. Up earlier in the subdivision where the west border is, it is not what I would say close enough to filter out light that would be coming from any parking lot, so lights. So that aside, yes, happy to see the mound and happy to hear that they're making some of the adjustments.
Now, you understand that the plantings will be there, and within 2 years, they will be 6 feet high and will be touching each other.
Yes,
So, okay.
that seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? Hearing none, is there a motion from the board?
Okay. I'll move approval of the land development plan with the condition as recommended by the township engineer regarding the planting strip.
And I'll second. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Ordinance number 2012-13, an ordinance of the Township of Mill Creek, Erie County, Pennsylvania, to establish general speed limits for the residential and collector streets in the Township of Mill Creek, providing for the establishment of a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit on a portion of West 20th Street, and for the erection of official signs to warn the traveling public of said speed limitations, establishing fines and penalties for violations, to authorize any timing devices authorized by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for use by local police forces, and including severability and repealer clauses. For all you folks that have traveled the new West 20th Street and have called us numerous times about the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, it's going up to 45. Is there anything else?
Just at the straightaway.
Just in the straightaway.
Right.
I wouldn't try doing 45 on the
No,
curves.
the curves are going to remain 25, as will the portion from 20th Street North down to 12th Street. That'll remain 25, and the portion from, I guess it's the bridge, correct, down to 20th Street, but the portion from the bridge to 26th Street will be 35. That's the collector. That's correct. That is currently 35, and that's not going to change.
Is there a motion from the board?
I'll move approval of ordinance 2012-13.
And I'll second. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Communications, Jerry?
I don't have anything.
I have nothing. Brian?
I have a few things. First, a memo from Jim Sperry, our Parks and Rec Director, with additional employees for his fall season, and it's a list of about 20 employees, so I will make that available, or it will be available in the administrative offices if anyone would like to take a look at that, but I will move approval of that list at the appropriate rates.
And I'll second. Public comment? Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Next, I have a memo from Chief Carlotti. On Thursday, September 6th, the Erie Center on Health and Aging will be administering free flu shots at the Shrine Club. This will be from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. And Chief Carlotti would like permission to assign 2 police officers to handle traffic control during that period from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., and I will move approval of that.
I'll second. Public comment? Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
And finally, a memo from Gary Snyder, our head foreman in the sewer department. He would like permission to send John Bloss and Dan Ouellette to Pittsburgh on September 18th for a mainline sewer camera demonstration. There would be no cost to the township except for their time and a vehicle, and I'll move approval of that.
I'll second. Public comment? Mr. McGrath?
Yes,
And I vote yes.
that's all I have.
Evan?
I have nothing.
Phyllis? Rick?
I have one item. Concerns a sidewalk deferral agreement. Frank Macco has requested a deferral for constructing sidewalk fronting a proposed home at 4431 Westminster Boulevard, since there are no existing sidewalks nearby. I recommend approval of the deferral agreement.
Questions from the board?
It's already been signed by Mr. Macco?
Yes.
Okay. I'll move approval.
I'll second. Public comment? Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the Mill Creek Township Government Study Commission presentation. We have our Government Study Commission here with us tonight, and we'll have a gentleman here who will come up and introduce himself to you folks, who will give the presentation of their report.
Good evening, supervisors, ladies and gentlemen, and citizens of Mill Creek. My name is Robert Pretzel. I'm the secretary and spokesman for the Mill Creek Township Government Study Commission. This time I would like to introduce the members of the commission in the order in which they appear in our summary. Mr. Richard Milhouse, our treasurer, Douglas Prozan, Dr. William Lamberton, Brian Paul Martin, Joey Greco, and our alternates, Robert Bier and Barbara Johnson, and our vice chair, Jason Owen. I didn't forget you, Jason. And a special recognition to our deceased chairperson, Joanne Mullen. Thank you. To the voters and supervisors of Mill Creek Township, the duly elected and official Mill Creek Township Study Commission has worked diligently since the end of November 2011 to carefully review the workings of our township. In addition, we have reviewed operations of other townships so that we have a clear and accurate view of the assignment for which we were elected. The following report will indicate reasons for our recommendations, the sources of information, and the data we use to come to the final conclusion. We have also included some suggestions which we believe will be helpful and informative. We wish to thank all the citizens of Mill Creek Township for the trust and confidence you have shown in the commission, and appreciate the help of many who have offered. I will now present the summary in its entirety for clarity and public record. During 2011, a controversy began in Mill Creek Township as to the form of government under which the township should operate. Those interested in change suggested that the present form of government had existed for nearly 200 years and that a change was needed to enable the township to be properly managed in the future. Those interested in keeping the present form suggested the township was being well run and there was no need for change. The group desiring change initiated a successful petition drive to put the question on the ballot. The question as it appeared on the ballot read, shall a government study commission of 7 members be elected to study the existing form of government of the municipality, to consider advisability of the adoption of an optional form of government, and to recommend whether or not an optional plan of government should be adopted. In all, 20 citizens submitted petitions with proper number of signatures to become candidates to the commission. The voters approved the study and the formation of the study commission. The 7 candidates received the highest number of votes were in order: Joanne Mullen, Richard Milhouse, Douglas Prozan, William Lamberton, Jason Owen, Robert Pretzel, and Brian Paul Martin. These members were sworn in on November 28, 2011 in the Mill Creek Township Government Study Commission, hereafter known as MTGSC, or the commission was formed. In November 2011, the commission organized and commenced its work on the assignment. Unexpectedly, Joanne Mullen, the commission chairperson, passed away just as the work was beginning. The process available to fill the position was not mandated, so the remaining members filled Mrs. Mullen's position by placing an ad seeking interested volunteers and selecting from those applicants. After applying and being interviewed, Joey Greco was chosen to be added as a voting member of the commission, and Robert Bier, Barbara Johnson, and Donna Reese, who withdrew due to personal reasons, was selected as non-voting alternates. The decision to select alternates assured the continuity in the event of any future vacancies. The choices for the township. Currently, Mill Creek Township operates under the second-class township code, Exhibit 1. Second-class township code, Exhibit 1. Enacted by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to set up the structure for the townships such as Mill Creek. Although the code offers only one form of government, it allows Mill Creek 4 choices of how its government can be organized and operate. Among the oddities to come out of the commission study is the fact that the form of government under which Mill Creek operates is not 200 years old as previously stated, but was enacted in 1933 and later amended in 1995. Since the ballot question passed, it gave the study commission an additional 4 forms of government called optional plans, Exhibit 2, the home rule and optional plans. Find those, Doug? Okay. Under which Mill Creek could be organized and operate. The home rule and optional plan law pertaining to the different plans available to Mill Creek was enacted in 1996, which made these plans and the second-class township code contemporaneous with each other. The township now understood that, the commission now understood that there were indeed 5 potential forms of government for the township, with one form, the second-class township code, having 4 possible ways for the township to organize and operate. The motivation of the voters for approving this study appeared to be an interest in examining possible government options and benchmarking Mill Creek's performance rather than mandating a concrete change in government form. With this in mind, and the knowledge that they had 9 months to make their recommendation, the commission began a study. The commission prepared a budget of $29,550, Exhibit 3, which was based on data gleaned from previous studies from other municipalities. Independent of the commission, the township included in its budget an amount of $50,000. As the commission was defined, both of these amounts were far more than what was needed. Among the reasons the commission spent much less was the fact that all the members voluntarily absorbed the expense for supplies, phone calls, travel, and other items that had been budgeted to be paid by the township. In addition, the township assigned Phyllis Volbrecht to help the commission, thereby saving the cost of hiring a secretary. And the internet made research and obtaining data from less expensive than traveling around the Commonwealth conducting interviews. The process. The commission employed several techniques in gaining information on which to base our decision. The commission acquired and reviewed financial information from 25 townships throughout Pennsylvania. Research papers from various sources were used as reference material, including Mill Creek's standing among these 25 townships in a variety of township services. Research was performed on hundreds of documents comparing data not only from Pennsylvania, but from other states as well. Exhibit number 4. Study of the second-class code and the optional plans enabled the commission to consider all of the above in forming our recommendations. Using this data, we compared the cost of township government versus other communities to see how the township ranked against the others and how these costs were relevant to the various services delivered to the citizens of Mill Creek. Among the areas studied, to name a few, were public safety, police and fire protection, taxes, roads, water and sewer, parks, recreation, population, and the size of government. Exhibit number 5. In addition, the respective size of the study communities were compared for how governments, including all employees of the different departments, made themselves accessible to the citizens. Also, the Commission studied the availability of different elected officials to these citizens, how they use various boards to perform government functions, as well as other methods they use to communicate, such as community television programming, printed flyers, and local media accessibility. Exhibit number 6. Demographics were also used to compare Mill Creek with the other communities. This proved to be a useful tool, as no two communities are exactly alike, but valuable comparisons could be made. Exhibit number 7. All of these exhibits are in the study. Public input was also important. The Commission, from its very beginning, took a very strong position on transparency and invited all citizens to observe their weekly work sessions, submit written questions, and reserved one meeting each month for public comment. In addition, the meetings were telecast on a community television station and through public announcements and advertisements. Deadlines were also established for all written and verbal submissions. With all this in place, the Commission continued a steady, economical, and methodical process to thoroughly investigate the entire government of Mill Creek. Personal interviews of over 60 township employees from various departments were conducted. Each was asked the same question, promised confidentiality, and at the end of each interview, encouraged to share their opinions with the commissioner interviewer. The interviews yielded an unblemished view of the township workings and enlightened the commissioners. In addition, 3 current supervisors were personally interviewed, and their observations, explanations, and opinions noted. The Commission also invited 4 past supervisors to meet with us and give their comments. Only Jess Giuliani Jr. and Larry Curtis had scheduled that permitted them to be available to us, and their comments were very much appreciated. The Commission reached out to the other municipalities we studied and requested personal comments from the various managers and supervisors, as well as all department heads, to better understand how they have functioned under the various choices available to us. Reservedly, most stated that their system was best for them. Some offered pros and cons to the different alternatives, but most stated that the township was running well. There are professional organizations of municipal managers. The One International City Council Management Association actively promotes the council management form of government as a preferred structure, but also supports professional management in all forms of government. These individuals are experienced in the area of government management and maintain a resource center to best serve their members. Other resources made available to the Commission were those of the Governor's Center for Local Government Services, including 2 face-to-face meetings with representatives from this office. Past publications of other study commissions and management partners, a fee-based company that actively manages governments for those communities who want management but do not want to hire a manager. These companies perform the task as an outsourcing function. The analysis of the potential forms of government. Since the voters approved the study of the township government, the choices for the Commission to consider were to be to continue to act under the second-class township code or recommend one of the 4 optional plans. The following is a review and explanation of the structure of these plans. The optional phase, Executive Mayor Council Plan A. Under this plan, each municipality shall be governed by an elected council, an elected executive mayor, and when recommended by the study commission and adopted by the voters, an elected treasurer, an elected controller, and by such other officers that may be duly appointed. The executive mayor and treasurer shall serve for 4-year terms. The council shall consist of 3, 5, 7, or 9 members and shall be elected to serve for 4 years. The executive mayor shall enforce the plan and ordinances and all general laws of the municipality. He or she shall annually report to the council and the public on the works of the previous year and shall supervise the departments of the government. Any ordinance adopted by council shall be approved by the manager, or if vetoed, the council can override his or her veto by a majority vote. The executive mayor, Council Plan B. Council Plan B operates as Plan A, except under this plan, the municipality must have a department of administration. There must also be an executive mayor, along with the council, and any other departments the council shall establish. Executive Mayor, Council Plan C. Under this plan, the executive mayor shall enforce the ordinances drawn by council and from time to time make recommendations for action by the council he or she deems in the public interest. In addition, the executive mayor shall appoint, with council approval, a managing director who shall supervise the Department of Government and shall be the contact person between the various departments of government and the executive mayor. Council manager plan. Much time was spent by the commission considering this form of government. Under this plan, the township would have an elected council, one member of which would be chosen to be the mayor or president of the council. In addition, there shall be appointed a municipal manager, and if provided by the plan, an elected treasurer, an elected controller, and any other office and employee duly appointed according to the ordinance. The treasurer and controller shall be elected for a term of 4 years. The council in most cases consists of 5 members, but can have 3, 7, or 9 if recommended. The council shall be elected at large unless authority is granted to be elected by districts. It is also possible to have at-large members and district members if specified in the initiative petition. The council member's term shall be 4 years. However, the plan also provides for the mayor to be elected directly by the voters in lieu of being chosen by the council if recommended by the study commission. A municipal clerk or secretary shall be appointed and shall serve as clerk of council. The clerk shall keep the records of the township, compile ordinances and resolutions as required, and perform any functions required by law or ordinance. The council's power shall be legislative, and it shall adopt ordinances and define the responsibility of the various departments it deems necessary to perform the conduct of the township affairs. The council shall appoint the municipal manager. The municipal manager and the municipal clerk offices may be held by the same person. The council shall create the departments, boards, and offices of the township, and no member of the council shall head an administrative department. The council shall act in all matters as a body, and it is contrary to the spirit of this plan to seek to individually influence the official acts of the municipal manager or any other official of the township. The council shall deal with the administrative services solely through the township manager and shall not give any orders to the subordinate of the township manager, either publicly or privately. The township manager shall be appointed for an indefinite term and can be removed by council. The township manager shall be the chief executive of the township and shall execute all laws and ordinances of the township. The manager shall appoint all department heads and employees under established procedures. The manager shall negotiate all contracts for the township subject to the approval of council and make recommendations for township improvements and execute these as determined by council. The manager shall make recommendations concerning policy, prepare and submit budgets, and perform all duties as required by ordinance or resolution, and is responsible for carrying out all of these policies of the township. The second-class township code. As previously mentioned, this is the form of government under which Mill Creek Township currently operates. What is often misunderstood is the definition and role of supervisors. Supervisors are elected to serve a 6-year term only as legislators. For want of a better way to explain it, they are elected to this part-time position and perform a legislative function. For the position of supervisors, they can be paid up to $5,000 per year and meet generally 4 times a month to do the business of the township. When enacted, the code provides for the township, such as Mill Creek, to actually have 4 different ways to organize and operate. The 4 ways to organize are, number 1, 3 part-time supervisors with a full-time manager. If the supervisor so choose, they can remain solely in a part-time position of supervisor and hire a manager to run the day-to-day operations of the township. The manager serves at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors and is answerable to them, similar to the council manager permitted under the option plan and explained earlier. Number 2, 5 part-time supervisors with a full-time manager. This is the same as a 3-supervisor system, except there are 2 additional supervisors. The supervisors so choose that if so choose, they can remain solely in a part-time position of supervisor and hire a manager to run the day-to-day operation of the township. Again, the manager serves at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors and is answerable to them, similar to the council manager permitted under the optional plans explained earlier. Advantages of a part-time supervisor with a full-time manager. The supervisors can concentrate on an overview of the township. Supervisors are not burdened with the day-to-day operation. Single source of contact for employees. Professional manager. Poor managers can be more quickly removed. Voters can change supervisors without changing managers and disrupting the workings of the government and/or its functions. Management structure can be modeled after corporate industry practices. Cost of running for office should be less, thereby allowing more citizens to run. Disadvantages of part-time supervisor with full-time manager. Termination of managers with contracts can be expensive and to the taxpayers. Managers are not directly answerable to the voters. Confusing the public, they may look to the supervisors for answers instead of the manager. Supervisors no longer have complete understanding of the functions of government. Managers will most likely need to hire assistants, thereby increasing the cost. Replacing a poor manager could be slow and expensive. Number 3, 5 part-time supervisors hired as full-time employees. Under this system, the supervisors can be employed as roadmasters, secretary, treasurer, and secretary-treasurer, or in any other employee capacity not otherwise prohibited by this or any other act. All 5 positions serve at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors and are answerable to them. Number 4, 3 part-time supervisors hired as full-time employees. This is the current system under which Mill Creek is operating. Supervisors do not receive any pay as part-time supervisors, but do as full-time employees. It has become the practice in Mill Creek to have the supervisors hire themselves as employees of the township. 2 are designated as roadmaster, and a 3rd supervisor serves as secretary. In these positions, they are paid more than $70,000 per year and enjoy the benefits of all township employees, including hospitalization coverage, pension, vacation pay, and the like. Although it may be confusing, the best way to think of the current structure is that the elected supervisors are wearing 2 hats. One is a supervisor, one is a township employee. The advantages of a part-time supervisor hired as full-time employee provides hand-on management. Employees always have more than one person available for guidance. Offers greater continuity because of staggered terms. Allows for complete change in philosophy of government within 4 to 6 years. Allows each supervisor to concentrate on one area of the township and still be familiar with the other areas. In theory, rotation of responsibilities allows for better understanding of all facets of government, township government by the supervisors. Forces accountability to the voters or face defeat at the next election. Allows the public to choose specialization in their leaders. Allows every citizen to become a supervisor and still earn a living. The disadvantages of a part-time supervisor hired as a full-time employee. Conflicts can occur if some supervisors do not have the same work ethics as others. Personality conflicts among supervisors as full-time employees can affect other township employees. Role between that of supervisor and employee becomes blurred. Learning curve for new supervisors as full-time employees is steep. No single source of contact for employees. Can be disruptive if some supervisors want to be employed and others do not. Narrowing the choices. The Study Commission has extensively reviewed and analyzed all the choices available so it can make an informative recommendation to the voters of Mill Creek Township. It has listened to valuable public comment, has interviewed officials from other communities operating under the various plans, and has talked with the Commonwealth officials knowledgeable in these matters and talked with companies which offer management services to municipalities. The input and observations of these sources were helpful and appreciated. In addition, the Commission has interviewed township employees, the current supervisors, 2 former supervisors, and discussed at length during our work sessions all the forms of government available to us. After discussions, often the discussions were spirited, but were always informative, constructive, and positive. We reviewed and analyzed financial data from many communities and compared it to the financial operations of Mill Creek Township. We sought to find patterns of strength and weakness in the current operations and how the various forms of government might affect those operations both from a positive as well as a negative viewpoint. Although we concentrated much of our time and efforts on these financial reports, we keep in mind that the effectiveness of government was as important as the cost of government. The executive, mayor, council A, B, and C are not recommended. After review, none of these forms presented an improvement over the second-class township code form of government under which we are currently operating. All would cause duplication and make the system more political. The results of change to any of these forms would be a likely increase in cost due to the changeover, an increase in the number of elected officials, higher taxes, and prove confusing to the citizens with no real advantage to the current form under which Mill Creek operates. Therefore, none of these forms seem a good fit for Mill Creek Township. Council manager plan. Not recommended. This plan has been offered by some as a desirable form of government for the township. However, there are many reasons why this is not the best form for Mill Creek. Under this plan, all the authority and responsibility for the operation of the township are controlled by the manager. It is difficult to believe that one manager could do the job now being done by three. This would undoubtedly mean the manager would hire several assistants to aid in his job. Our study shows this is exactly what has occurred in other townships, and the total cost of the manager and his assistants is considerably higher than what the current supervisor and employees are paid. Also, this person is not directly accountable to the voters and therefore is insulated from direct influence by the voters. This would appear to be a positive, as it would seem that all decisions would be made without any political pressure. Unfortunately, pressures from council can influence the decision of the manager, and the council members themselves are subject to such pressures. In many municipalities, studied, a divided council can affect the performance of the manager in that he tries to please the majority of the council for fear of losing his job rather than what is best for the township. In one case, the manager became involved in a political process and sought candidates to run who would support his position per discussion with an official from the Government Center for Local Government Services. Also, since the council is not involved in the day-to-day management of the township, they are less informed and tend to become dependent on the manager for all information and guidance. This can lead to the council becoming subordinate to the manager. In other cases, when a manager acts too independently of the council, he has been terminated even if his intentions were in the best interest of the citizens, but did not want to bow to the political pressure. Because the manager serves at the pleasure of the council, he can be dismissed at any time. Exhibit number 8. Bristol Township Government Study Commission. This can prove to be a financial hardship for any responsible manager. This also encourages managers to move from one position to another for higher pay or to avoid an unpleasant working condition by council. One study from the state of Florida experienced a 25% turnover in a 2-year period. In another, it was found that as high as 80% of managers were from outside the local area and did not have ties to the community. 80%. Exhibit number 9. That was a nationwide study. This kind of turnover could prove devastating to the orderly function of government. In addition, there is now a movement by the Professional Managers Association mentioned above to protect the manager from the financial uncertainties of dismissal by entering into binding contracts. According to the management partners, these contracts, which are now the norm, provide for compensation in the event of dismissal. If a township makes a poor selection of a manager, or the council for whatever reason is not satisfied with his actions or performance and terminates the manager, there could be a significant cost to the township, as most managers are now career managers and highly paid. The turnover of managers is significant, with 2 or 4 years not being uncommon. Some communities have managers in place for as many as 8 years. However, this is not the norm. Although there may be those who support a change to the council manager form, the studies are inconclusive as to the efficiency gains of this particular form. The council management option plan is found to be undesirable, as it would lead to more government, less accountability, more political pressure, and a step backwards as far as the average citizen having access to its leaders. In addition, this plan offers little flexibility as to how it is organized, because this is the only one option. This is important as times and needs change. The form of government needs to be able to change too. This form of government would add cost and do nothing to improve the effectiveness or flexibility of our current government. The second-class township code, recommended. As stated earlier, a very misunderstood reality of the present setup in Mill Creek is the fact that the current Board of Supervisors do not work for the township. The supervisor position is effectively a part-time position, but the custom allowed by law, they have hired themselves to be de facto managers of the township. At any time, the supervisors can decide to hire a manager and continue only as a legislative body. In 1933, and again in 1995, when it was amended, the second-class township code was a very well thought out and designed to accommodate the needs of a township such as Mill Creek. Credit must be given to those who wrote the document, as it not only provides for effective and efficient management of the government, but it is written in such a way as to be flexible. Being flexible provides for townships to be able to adapt their government as their needs change. The code permits townships to be governed by either 3 or 5 supervisors, and to change from one to the other can be accomplished either by resolution of the supervisors or by petition of 5% of the voters. Once either of these occurs, the question is placed on the ballot and voters decide. Whether there are 3 or 5 supervisors, it is still a decision of the supervisors whether to hire themselves as employees of the township or decide to have a township manager. It is not a decision the voters make, rather the decision to hire a manager is exclusively that of the supervisors. If there is a sentiment for continuing the system whereby supervisors hire themselves as employees, then the voters can decide if they agree by voting for a candidate that intends to follow the current system. If a candidate comes forward who wants a supervisor to hire a manager, then he or she can run on that platform, and again the voters can decide how they vote. Since only one supervisor is elected at each voting cycle, it takes 2 or more cycles for one system to prevail over the other. This in itself is an advantage of the second-class code, township code, as it makes for an orderly transition of government management. The second-class township code has permitted Mill Creek to operate well in the past, and Mill Creek Township Government Study Commission recommends that it be continued as it offers the most flexible for current needs, as well as provides for the flexibility to meet future needs. As earlier stated, there's been much discussion about changing to a council manager form under the optional plan. The discussion inferred that township would be better operated under a township manager with supervisors being only supervisors. In essence, having an expanded 5-member part-time board of supervisors with the full-time manager as permitted under the second-class township code would be very much like a council management plan. However, the second-class township code has several advantages over the council management plan. The transition would be orderly and occur over a number of years, giving everyone plenty of time to think about this important decision. It would be far less costly, as the council management plan would require writing a comprehensive administrative code and rewriting all the township ordinances and recreating how the township and its departments were organized. This would be a monumental task and very expensive, both from a cost standpoint as well as affecting the functioning of the township government. With this in mind, if the voters wanted a system in place where the supervisors acted only as supervisors and desire a manager, they can simply follow the second-class township code and obtain the necessary signatures to add 2 additional supervisors who share that view. If the required signatures were obtained, it would appear on the ballot for the voters to decide. If the question were to pass, then there would be 5 supervisors to make the final decision whether to employ a manager. The second-class township code allows all organizational factors to remain in place, and would allow the function of the government to continue and would not produce the extensive cost of reinventing the wheel. In conclusion, as the commission worked through this assignment, we realized that we were looking at the township through eyes that no one had done before. With this in mind, we thought it appropriate to include in this report ideas, concerns, and points of interest that we felt may be helpful. Exhibit number 10. The study commission found that for the most part, Mill Creek Township has been well run for many years and has maintained a good reputation for being a desirable place to live and work. There are many amenities offered to its citizens, as well as our neighbors, visitors, and those passing through. Supervisors, both past and present, have had a genuine concern for what is best for the township and have been progressive in how they have prepared for the future. The employees of the township conduct themselves in a professionally and provide necessary backup, so the citizens of Mill Creek are delivered quality service. Comparing the cost and effectiveness of government finds that Mill Creek stacks up very favorably to other communities, and in most cases has lower costs of government with higher positive results. There have been many comments made by the township that the township should be run like a business. Unlike a business, government does not need to be profitable, but to give services and spend the tax dollars wisely. Purely and simply, it is not a business. It's a government, ultimately run by the people through the representatives they elect. The Commission has looked at the responsibilities of this report, not just from a large amount of financial information provided, but also from a philosophical viewpoint as to what makes a good community and how to ensure it continues to be one. The research suggests that the effectiveness of government depends more on individual variables than on a form of government. The Study Commission has found and firmly believes that the system or form of government is less important than who runs the government. When you have good, conscientious people with an outstanding work ethic running the government, you have a good government. When you do not have good, dedicated people with a good work ethic, you will not have good government. In addition, the closer you keep the leaders of the government to the voters, the better. Placing another level between the voters and the leaders does not offer as much direct contact or sense of the needs of the public. The Study Commission has reviewed many different facets of this issue as to whether to recommend a change in the form of government away from the second-class township code, and finds there's an absence of compelling evidence to that a change is justified. After researching the various forms and recommendations that the second-class township code remain does not mean that there cannot be a change in how the township operates. As was stated earlier, the form of government and the operation of government are not the same thing. Remaining under the second-class township code allows for changes to the operation of the township without changing the form of government because of its flexibility. The Study Commission has resolutely maintained an objective review of the assignment entrusted to us so we could make an unbiased recommendation. In the final analysis, the voters should choose how their government operates, and choosing individuals that have their confidence is what elections are all about. I'm going to read the suggestions that we have made to the supervisors and to the township. Mill Creek Township has taken some important steps recently, including the addition of a human resources and an information technology person, and these are to be applauded. However, our study has found some areas we feel need attention, and we decided that it would be appropriate to offer some suggestions we think the township leaders should consider. The Commission members believe it would be helpful to establish a long-range strategic planning committee that serves as an ongoing advisory committee to the supervisors to evaluate the township for needs such as, but not limited to, commercial and industrial development, redevelopment, strategic planning, beautification, code enforcement, and government structure. The work of the committee should be open to and engage with the public. The following are some areas in which we believe the committee should be proactive. Better planning is suggested in the fleet replacement area so equipment is street ready at all times. Preventative maintenance is the key to a long-lasting and well-maintained equipment, leading ultimately to lower cost. Allow the police chief to manage his department with less intervention. Consider a structured program for evaluating employees for performance with yearly reviews. Prepare an employee transition. One great concern of the Commission is that the demographics of the township workforce. Provisions should be considered for the transition of retiring employees. Consider a quality control program similar to the International Standards Organization, ISO, so there are standard operating procedures in place and all township employees are aware and embrace them. Department heads should meet with supervisors and other departments on a more regular basis to improve communications. Evaluate the status of the technology department with other departments to encourage employees to embrace technology. Establish and strictly enforce workplace rules for things such as work hours, summer schedules, time off for lunch breaks, vacations, etc. Ongoing analysis of salaries, pensions, and benefits to evaluate and compare with similar positions in the public and private sectors. All supervisors should receive $5,000 pay for being supervisors, and the resulting reduction in their current salary as full-time employees. Endeavor for more consistency in the rotation of supervisors every 2 years. These ideas are offered as recommendations, and it is hoped that they will be carefully reviewed to determine that they may be helpful to the township operations as the Mill Creek Township Government Study Commission anticipates they will. This study will be available at the township for any citizen that would like one upon request. The report will permit the readers to follow the commission's recommendations in a clear and concise manner, including all exhibits. And so, if there are any additions, anything I forgot from the other commissioners? If not, then the Mill Creek Township Government Study Commission is now dissolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pretzel. As far as the hard copies, yes. You and I discussed earlier that there is a high probability that we will put this on the website so that people can access it through our web page. Thank you. On a personal note, on behalf of the Board of Supervisors and the citizens of Mill Creek Township, I would like to thank you and all the members of the Commission for your hard, diligent work during the last, well, almost 11 months now. This was a historical undertaking. We had a good group of people here to do it, and I'm sure your dedication comes forth in this report, and I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you.
One quick question. Do we have this electronically that we can put it on our website?
No.
Or can we get it electronically?
No, we're going to do that tomorrow.
Okay. I'd like to echo the chairman's remarks. I know that we saw you folks in our building many days. I don't know how many public meetings that you had, but it was, what, a dozen maybe? Is that a pretty good guess?
More than that.
More than that?
What, public meetings?
Public meetings.
Probably a dozen. I know there was one every Monday.
One every Monday you were here, and then some because you were interviewing employees. This is obviously a tremendous amount of work and one that should be appreciated by all the residents of the township. So, thank you very much. And we will probably, after reading through this, if it's all right with you, be contacting you for more detail as far as some of your suggestions, your recommendations go, getting back in touch with you and getting a little more detail.
Thank you. We'll move on with the meeting now. Citizens to be heard. Hearing none, is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll move we adjourn at 7:55.
I'll second. We're adjourned.